Hello my friends! In this video I'll show you how easy it is to paint. This time we will make a study of Claude Monet and the painting name is Regattas at Argenteuil. Usually when I have a landscape I start with the sky, but this time because we have a water I will drag down the same color that I use in the sky to the sea because they reflect each other. So like this, it's usual to mimic that reflection. Especially when there is a very scenic and full of color sky, it is easier to do it at the same time and the landscape will look more realistic. This is a bright sunny day, and the major focus on Monet paintings was capturing the light, and especially how light was reflected on different objects or different textures. In order to understand Monet technique, it is important to understand what was his philosophy. And the best word that I can use to describe this is spontaneity. Monet will many times finish an entire painting in a sitting because his major focus was to capture the moment. Impressionists believe that an object is not the same throughout hours. They believe that in the morning you see certain lights and certain reflections. In the afternoon, as the light is changing, the objects are changing and the vibe is different. That's why in Monet's painting, we're gonna see very big brush strokes as he was trying to paint very fast to capture that specific time. As it is very obvious for the sky and for the water, I'm using only white and blue. And I'm going in short strokes, mostly horizontal, in order to suggest the clouds and the waves. I'm very sure Monet didn't use this, but we're gonna use a little trick. In order to get a straight line, I'm using a ruler. And this will define the sky and the water. With white, I'm sketching the elements of the painting. First, it's 3 sailboats. And here is the land, a tree right here, a house, and another house. For the land, I am using green, yellow, and red, and I have all these 3 colors in my brush. As I'm going through with my strokes, you can still see very little lines with red and some with yellow, and I like that effect. I want to keep it like this. And here I want to enhance the yellow, so I'm adding a big chunk of yellow and red. The key here is that the color it's not completely dry. And as I am painting, the colors will blend one into the other. And I will take some of the color on the edges, but some will still remain there. And this is the major effect that the Impressionists had when they are painting their canvases. They have those big strokes and somehow it will give the feeling of an unfinished. For the bushes, I'm using two different kind of greens. And this would be a taller tree and a little red here, and I am blending this red with the rest of the colors. A darker accent here and just a little edge here. This is not an exact replica, and I want to establish from the beginning what is the purpose of this study. Every time we have a famous artwork or a famous artist, it is extremely difficult to replicate exactly what we see. And that is because, one, most of the times we don't know how the artist did the painting. All we see is how it looks, but we will never know what are the layers that we don't see. And second, only a Monet can paint a Monet. We can try to get closer and we can try to understand what we see, but we will never be able to replicate exactly what Monet did. Some of you might argue that using the modern technology that we have today, we can X-ray an artwork and we can know exactly what the layers were. And that it's true. We can know exactly what kind of pigments were used or what kind of oils were used. And some other times we have the artist diaries and the artist statement where the artist itself is explaining the technique that he's using and what kind of colors he was or she was mixing. And we have that information available. But with all of this, we still cannot replicate what was done in the past. The second house, it's somewhere in the back and it will be smaller and it will be behind that tall tree. So using the same colors that I used before, I will place my house. The roof, it's darker and the walls are brighter than the other one. A little accent with a bright orange that extends the house, and some other short strokes here. With the same color, I am doing the water reflections. And for this, I'm putting horizontals here and there. Some of them are longer, some of them are shorter, and some of them are one on top of the other. Before moving on, it's always good to add few accents with a darker green and with blue. That's why I will put few lines here. And because the support is still wet, my green, it will mix together. I am placing a window. I'm using the same color that I used on the roof, and I'm keeping the same negligent look. It's time to go back to the boats. And for this, with white, I am redefining what I sketched before, and I'm adding a opaque layer of white. Of course, I'm joking here because my white it's not very opaque. I will have to add multiple layers of color, and I have to use more white in order to get a decent look. In my white, I mix a very small amount of yellow and green. And with this color, I am playing around. Some areas are simple white and some areas are of this greenish mix. But because the support is wet, they will blend and the color will circulate from one side to the other. For the first boat's reflection, I will use a thick layer of white, and then in between some other short strokes. And that's all the reflection. There's another area with white here. And now I'm ready to move on to the next boat. I will follow the same steps. I will mix my white with that green, yellow green, and then here a white accent. Of course, every object has its reflections, and let's add here a few dots or lines. Okay, like this. Moving on, we have another boat somewhere far, so we see only a little bit of that boat. And the last boat will be right here. Initially, I thought that I will be able to complete the entire painting using only one brush, but I was wrong. Now that I have to put some details and parentheses here, details don't mean a lot of details. So on this details, I have to use a smaller brush. I want to put an accent at the bottom part of the boat, and this brush is helping me a lot. And of course, I will have to add a character, and I have to put some dark accents too. With a darker gray, I am adding my final touch-ups, and I'm defining a little bit this area. Of course, a silhouette right here. I'm not gonna put a lot of details into this character because it's somewhere very, very far and we don't see much of this person. This is the reflection right here. Few more strokes of color, and there you have it. This is my replica of a Monet painting. I hope you enjoy it and see you next time with another fun project. Bye bye.